Look what we have here. Zach Edey, 9th overall to the Memphis Grizzlies, 2-time National Player of the Year. He was mocked to go in the lottery, or he was mocked to go at the bottom of the first round. We're going to go to the Memphis resident in-house here, Gary Parrish. Zach Edey to Memphis.
I know that they have liked him for a while. The question in Memphis was never, do you like Zach Edey? Could you envision Zach Edey being, the center on a core featuring John Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr.? The question was, would you really spend the 9th pick on him, a top 10 pick? And it seems to me that clearly they wanted to move up and get Donovan Clingan, or at least there's a lot of reporting that suggests that was true. They couldn't get that done. Edey is there. They like him. And I think the bottom line is this. They're less concerned. Maybe the lesson is with the Knicks and Nets last night. The Knicks paid a big price to get Mikal Bridges. But if Mikal Bridges works out, nobody will ever complain about the price they paid. I think the Grizzlies are sitting here similar situation now. Did we have Zach Edey projected as a top 10 pick? Maybe, maybe not. They'll answer that question later. But we liked him. This is where we had to take him if we were going to get him. We got him now, and if it works out, nobody will ever care that it might have been a little too high.
Let's bring back Matt Norlander here. And Matt, you've covered Zach Edey, 2-time National Player of the Year, lost in the Natty to UConn. When you look at his game, the big knock is that his game wouldn't translate to the NBA. What do you respond with when you hear that?
I think that he's got a great chance, and I go off of what we saw. By the way, I know who the 10th pick is if you want to get to that before the end of the segment here, by the way. That's just been submitted per a source. With Zach Edey, he winning the 2-time National Player of the Year as this huge, huge force in college basketball and still going top 10 in the modern NBA, I actually think is a very refreshing storyline for college basketball, for the league. And all I can tell you is in checking in with sources over the past week, Edey in his workouts was absolutely emphatically dominant. I had 2 sources tell me it got to a point with 2 separate workouts that they almost had to stop them midway through because he was so ridiculously impressive physically on the floor. You can't teach the size. And what happened here was there was a lot of smoke with the Grizzlies trying to move up to maybe get Clingan. Ultimately, they held firm and they draft the big that outplayed Clingan head-to-head, obviously, in the national championship game, even if Clingan's team got the W, but also the stats across the board, the stats at the combine. Zach Edey has a tremendous reputation, not just for how hard he plays, how well he's developed, how much of a teammate he is, and we have to reinforce this. He is the combination of a proven, legitimately dominant, once-in-a-generation college player, and he is also very much on the rise. He has not played high-level competitive ball for more than 6 years at this point. He has an incredible chance at continuing to move up and get to be better and better and better. So with Edey, the reputation as a dominant college player ultimately won out over the stigma of being a big man. A variety of teams viewed Edey as a guy, a prospect that with what he did, what he accomplished, and how big he was, you really don't get a guy like him more than once in a generation. Memphis didn't want to wait any longer. Congrats to Edey and his family, top 10 pick.
Adam Finkelstein, what grade are you giving this?
I'll go a B.
Okay.
This is another one that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as you would say. And listen, Matt hit the nail right on the head there. The key with Edey, nobody cares in the NBA what you did in college. What people do care about is your rate of improvement. And Zach Edey has improved by leaps and bounds every single year, and he's done it in a multitude of ways. The most obvious this year was his conditioning. The work that man did on his body, like, listen, I know he's massive. I got into an elevator with him at the combine. I was like, ooh, I'm sorry. He's massive. There's going to be real questions in the defensive end of the floor. We talk about that national championship game. You know what else happened in that second game? UConn got behind him for 2 lob dunks when he went into drop coverage. That's an issue. Okay, that's an issue. He's got to figure out how to play ball screen defense in the NBA, but he's massive. He's a worker. He's getting better every single day, and there's a clear trajectory to show that.
You played with 2 trees, 2 Hall of Famers. Can he play, I'm not saying at a Hall of Fame level, but can he play at the level where he could be not necessarily elite, but a role player on an NBA team, Zach Edey?
First of all, I'm glad that we're rewarding the most decorated college basketball player in the last 2 years with a top 10 pick, showing that you can stay in college for 4 years. You don't have to go and transfer for your COVID year and try to break the bank with the NIL money. This kid stayed in college for 4 years, and I'm so proud of him. Yes, he can fit. I've watched him progress in how he's developed. when you're talking about a pick and roll with Ja Morant and Zach Edey, and you have Jaren Jackson Jr., spreading the floor because he can knock down the three, or when Jaren Jackson is resting, now you can run your offense with Edey and Ja Morant. I really like this pick. I give it a B+. I'm not giving them a grade, but I like this pick for Memphis. And I'm also thinking, Gary, I'm also thinking about the other teams in the division. Derek Lively Jr., who played pretty well in the playoffs. Obviously, nobody can really care the victor. But again, you look at what's happening in New Orleans. So you got some big centers in that division that you have to break through against if they want to get back on track.
I got to make this pick real quick. He's the best screener in the draft. I should have meant Ja Morant. He's going to be a perfect screen partner. He's going to get him open all day long, and I think that's a big part of it.
And that was a big thing the Grizzlies valued in Steven Adams before he was injured there. He popped Ja loose a lot.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, Zach Edey's going to be able to do that.
Yep, great point there. And I will add that Zach Edey wasn't able to get NIL. He's ineligible because he was an international player from Canada. Now he's going to get some money in the NBA because everybody's getting paid.